I'd like to call the meeting to order. You'd all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. This business meeting is held both in person and virtually through Zoom in compliance with our RSU 38 policy BED remote participation in school board meetings. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Maranicook.org YouTube channel. Please be aware that during the course of this meeting, the microphones on the viewing audience will be muted except for during the identified portions of the public comment, which at this meeting is number 5. If someone from the public would like to speak, please use the question and answer tab to tell Mrs. McGregor, and then she will promote you to a panelist, which that means then you can speak. If any questions are posted to board members who are panelists, and I'm not sure that we have anybody on tonight. Do we have any board members? No. What I was going to say is that we won't respond to those. We'll just, because this is a public forum, we'll recognize those people asking the questions, but we won't respond tonight. Okay. So if you wish to speak tonight in person, please make sure that you sign up on the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. We will ask that speakers limit their individual comments to 2 minutes. And if someone speaks ahead of you that has a similar view, please reference that in your comments. And before you speak, please identify yourself and let us know what town you're from. We thank you in advance for your constructive comments.
So at this point, attendance and all votes will be done through roll call. So when your name is called, please cast your vote with the 3 available options of yes, approve, no, disapprove, or abstain. We're going to quickly do a roll call just to see who's here and in person. Oh, yes, please. Yes, I'll pause for just a second.
Before we do the roll call, I'd just like to welcome one of our new board members, Eric Nelson. He's a junior at the high school, and he has agreed with Esme Jameson, who will be here a little late tonight. Spoke a couple days ago, and we talked about what it would be like to be a board member. So they're going to join us as full-fledged board members. So welcome and thank you for doing this. And now we'll do the roll call.
Now we'll do roll call. Kim Bowie.
Here.
Dave Gilmay.
Here.
Jade Parker, I believe, is absent, just confirming she's not online. Dane Wing.
Here.
Tyler Dunn had emailed and said he might not be able to make it, but just confirming. Thank you. Kathy Jacobs.
Here.
Melissa Tobin. Melissa be online tonight? Okay. Patty Gordon.
Here.
Rebecca Lambert.
Here.
Betty Morrow.
Here.
Sean Roderick.
Here.
Kelsey Bowden had told her, but just confirming she's not online. Thank you, Diane. And David Twitchell. Here. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So we'll start tonight's meeting with our student representatives. So middle school or high school, you guys can decide who wants to go first. Okay, looks like middle school won the toss.
Hello, I'm Carter Bennett. I'm a 7th grader from Maranicook, and today I will be reporting on Acadia, Sebago, and Katahdin because our fellow representative is not here today. Joe will be doing Moose. So on Katahdin, the math classes are learning about dividing, in 6th grade they're learning about dividing fractions. 7th grade, is learning about ratios and proportions, and the 8th grade is learning about geometry. In the Katahdin core class, Katahdin students in the class Space Stories are practicing fun ways to use their argumentative vocabulary words. Online Jeopardy proved to be very engaging as teams wagered points to see who could get the most questions correct. They are reading the Martian Classroom Edition together in class, discussing which side of the argument should they colonize Mars students are on. Katahdin students continue to read at least 2 hours per week. In their other core class, Colonization of Space, class students recently completed a slideshow timeline of space exploration, starting with the Soviet Union Sputnik 1 in October of 1957 to the current space exploration news to include Elon Musk and the SpaceX program. A lot of ground to cover, but each student was required to prepare a short presentation that was illustrated and explained the particular date on that timeline. On Acadia, 8th graders in math are working on their reflections during geometry with transformations. 7th grade is scaling up candy wrappers and cartoon characters by blowing them up 5 times bigger. And 6th grade is starting concepts of elevations with positive and negative numbers. They are also learning about probability with rolling dice. Everybody is also learning on math about money management and taxes. During Acadia ELA, we have continued learning about editorials and researching. In Mr. Holman's core classes, we have learned about how jobs are changing in seaweed farming and other finance things like taxes in the stock market. For Sebago, I was not able to get any info because the Sebago teachers were all busy with their testing the 8th grade students with their MEAs. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter.
Hello, I am Joseph Kucher, here to report on Moose, as Carter said, Royal, and school-wide and student government. For Moose Island's math classes for 6th grade, they are working on graphing positive and negative numbers using real-life examples such as maps. 7th grade, they are focusing on scaling. Right now, they are scaling candy bars up in size. 8th grade math, they are working on their Unit 4 assessments. In Miss Tucker's core class, they are making cards that include circuits for people who have helped them during the quarantine. In Miss Turcotte's class, we are continuing to deepen our understanding on the periodic table. In Miss Bickford's core class, we are working on our learning reflection that includes a timeline of an invention and how it has evolved, as well as what we learned in this past month. For Miss Tracy's core, we have been discussing slavery over a timeline and starting to look at the Civil War. In Miss Ryder's, we have started writing the first paragraph of an essay about different human rights being violated. In Miss Jules' class, we have started the final project of this trimester, where we create a slideshow about the culture of our choice. In Mr. Mrazek's, we've been talking about the gold rush, the Oregon Trail, and the events that split the U.S. before the Civil War. In 6th grade math, we've started algebra. 7th grade math, we are finishing up learning how to calculate percentages. In 8th grade math, we are still working on transformations with rotation, reflection, and translation. In literacy, we are still working in book groups, but some of us have started our presentations about the books and the separate questionnaire also about the same books. School-wide and student government. Student government had a meeting before vacation. This week is focused around students doing less screen time at home. This Monday, there was a theme day for the teachers to wear 80s workout outfits. As well, the 8th graders had their science NBA, what was that? MEA tests. Yeah,
Thank you, Joe. Does any board members have any questions for either Carter or Joe? Is there a picture of those 80s outfits?
I was just going to ask if a lot of people wore 80s outfits and if students did too. Yeah.
Did students wear outfits or was it just the teachers?
just the teachers.
Yeah. And I should point out that I did see Dr. Levac's outfit and it was spot on, so.
And again, are there pictures?
Oh, there's pictures.
All right, good.
Great, thank you, guys.
Hello, first for the Senate and Council updates, nominations for officers, President, Secretary, and Treasurer have begun, along with the nominations for committee heads. And on top of that, Senate applications for next year are getting started. Current committee heads have created a written history and list of responsibilities for the committees and the next year's leaders. And Student Voice is currently working on the Instagram page that is used to honor the seniors and announce their post-graduation plans.
Hi, I'm Abigail Allen. I'm a sophomore. I'm going to be talking about the extracurriculars and things that are going on throughout school. Prom is this Saturday. Tickets have been sold last week and this week during lunch for $25 a piece. The dance is being held at the Governor's Mansion from 7 to 11 p.m. and the theme is Fire and Ice. Our spring athletics have begun. Softball holding a record of 4 wins and 0 losses. Baseball being 5-1. Boys lacrosse 4-1, and the girls lacrosse is 1-1. Track and field has attended one meet in which 2 girls placed first in their events, and we had several other top 5 placements. Lastly, our girls tennis team has a record of 4 wins and 1 loss. On top of our typical and usual athletics, a freshman, Josh Hall, got first in the Brackets Market 4-cylinder pro division at Wiscasset Speedway. And as we wrap up the school year, we have had next year's upperclassmen begin welcoming the soon-to-be freshmen to the high school. Last week, we held a lunch for them where they got to experience lunch at the high school and ask current juniors and sophomores questions that they had about high school.
Great. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you for that information. And you 4 are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like, or you feel free to leave. So next on our agenda is a presentation.
Yep, and I'll wait just a second. So just as a reminder, we had a presentation from Mrs. Tina Meserve a little bit earlier in the year with the Facilities Committee. And at that time, we weren't quite ready to start moving forward, but obviously times have changed quite a bit. The Facilities Committee gave me the green light to ask Tina if she would come back and do a full board presentation for your consideration. So Tina works for Revision Energy. I hope I'm saying that right, Revision Energy. And we talked about 2 potential options that I won't steal Tina's thunder. I'll let her kind of walk you through it. But I did ask her to bring to you guys 2 different options again for consideration, and then we'll go from there. So Tina, thank you very much for being here. I know you worked with Diane McGregor to get all of the slides and stuff ready for our online audience as well. So welcome.
Yes, thank you, and good evening. So I'm here to talk to you about solar for schools. And one of the things that we've talked about in our facilities committee earlier in the year was that there are 2 important reasons for you to be considering this. Number one, which is always on our taxpayers' mind, is reducing operational costs in any way that we can. So the money that we spend on schools goes to education. And of course, you know, taxpayers appreciate when we're fiscally conservative. So that's the starting point. But there's also another angle to this that I think is really important for our schools that I see them talking about, is that it's really valuable for us to be good stewards of the earth and to model that for our students. And, we're contributing to their education so that they're prepared for the future. And when we can stand up in front of them and show that we're also committed to leaving them a better world, a world that they can thrive and implement all that they've learned at your school. And part of that is addressing the climate crisis. So not sure where this board stands, but boards will agree that there's two really important things to be considering and advantages to joining solar. I want to talk to you just a little bit first about Revision Energy. I feel like it's important to know a company, the company's values as you're considering this, because this, when you're considering solar, it's a long-term commitment. So Revision Energy is a Maine company, and they, Revision started in 2003 with humble beginnings in Liberty, Maine, with 2 men in a garage. And we now have expanded to having offices in South Portland, but also some offices in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. So the company's grown, and they really talk a lot about the growth being a result of the commitments that they make to the communities that they serve. And we look at schools and other companies that have similar to ours. Kathy, can switch the slides. So we now have over 300 employees. We are an employee-owned company, and we're a certified B Corp. And when you're a certified B Corp, you get that recognition from your sustainable practices, but also a commitment to your local workforce. And Revision was just recently recognized as best for the world B Corp, which means they're in the top 5% of B Corps in the world for both of those characteristics. We're rated #1 for solar in rooftop solar in New England. And we've installed over 10,000 clean energy systems since our inception in 2003. So in 2019, the legislature enacted LD 1711. And in that legislation, it essentially opened the door for municipalities and school departments and other organizations to benefit from solar by earning net energy billing credits. And essentially, these are off-site projects. They can be on-site as well, but the energy goes to the meter, and it's calculated, and then you get credits back right on your electric bill. And one of the things that, if you are following solar in the state, is this law has recently been changed twice. So in November, they changed it with LD 936, which is essentially limiting or slowing down solar in Maine. They've done that because it's been wildly successful. It's allowed people to sign in and pay less for their electricity by going through solar. Just last week, it's changed again. So this is an ongoing target. Luckily for Revision, we have worked in the state of Maine for a long time. We know grid works, and several of our projects are in safe harbor for CMP territory. So we feel like we still have a strong pipeline to go, but things are constantly changing. And what we're saying to people is, if you're ready to get into solar, this is the time to do it, because the field is tightening and the opportunities will be limited, at least for a short period of time. Revision Energy does small projects, from small commercial projects to residential projects, all the way up to these larger 4 or 5 megawatts. So the law change doesn't impact us as much as it will for some of the out-of-state companies that have come in to do these larger projects. But we still are feeling the same pain that other solar companies are feeling as we are adapting along with with the changes that the legislature is making. So the net energy billing program works similar to, we like to talk about it as similar to getting a gift card. So if you were standing in Hannaford or heading into Hannaford and somebody offered you a $100 gift card and said, I'll sell you this $100 gift card for $85. You pay them the $85 and then you walk into Hannaford and you can buy $100 worth of products with that $100 gift card. You get your products, you go through the register, all of the items that you bought come up there, and then your gift card shows that you've got this $100 gift card to go toward this this bill, and then whatever's left over you owe. So you would owe a much smaller amount at the end. And so the net energy billing program works the same way. You would be buying net energy from through the state's program at a reduced rate. And when you get your CMP bill, you will see your normal with all the costs associated with that. And then at the bottom of that bill, you'll see your net energy billing credits, your gift card, that reduces the cost of that bill. And so the amount that you would owe CMP would be significantly less. When you combine both of those bills, you will see your savings. So if you get if you see the example up here is if that $85 or gift card range, you would see that percentage of savings. Our typical savings are anywhere from 12 to 20%, well, they have been. That's changing pretty rapidly now, depending on the size of your load. So if we sign in a really small school, they may only get 12 or 13% because they're a really small part of a project. If you have a larger load, then usually the savings coincides with that increased load. Anybody have any questions so far?
For a similar thing at home, but the setup isn't built yet, not on our home, but wherever it's going to be built. So we're not getting any credit yet. How fast would the school be getting credit?
So it depends on when you sign up for a project, you go into the next project that's being built. So we have two projects that went online or are going online this month. One's in Augusta and one's in Gardner, I believe. And so it depends on how soon you sign up. So if you make it in the next project, you might, be going forward in a couple of months. If you miss the next round, it could be a year. It takes about a year to build a project. So for the way it works is a project doesn't start getting built until the load is, for us, we fill the load before we build the project. So we would be able to tell you when you sign the contract, we'd go to our pipeline and we'd say, this is the next one that's being built and this is your timeline. So the school, if you chose to go with revision, we have a guaranteed placement clause. We make sure we don't sign up anyone that we don't believe we can place in a project, and we tell you the project that you're going to go in. The other thing that I really value with our company is that we don't displace smaller loads. If we get a really great offer from a larger company, we say, no, you go in the queue right where you come in. So you would know ahead of time when you signed it, or when you got your contract, you would know what project that would be.
Thank you.
Tina?
Yes.
You said that the typical savings right now is between 12 and 20%, but it's changing in which way?
Yeah, because they're limiting the size of projects that you can build, the savings are going to be less. And so they went from being able to build 5 megawatt projects to the new law is 2 megawatt projects. And then, of course, if you're following the news, the products increases are going up significantly. So again, getting in and getting a contract is pretty important. And right now, because the law just changed, we're looking at how that's going to impact us. When the law changed in November, we were grandfathered in for quite a few projects, and now this new law has got a new restriction that certain things will happen if you don't start construction by September 1st. So we're trying to analyze how that's going to impact our projects, but it is going to impact some of them.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, savings is based on generation and stuff. I know we're on the East Coast. How many sunny days have you figured out or averaged that, we would be generating power?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we often will get the question about, well, what happens when they're covered with snow? So I don't know how many sunny days we have. I don't know it in that terms. And as a disclaimer, I started working for the company in November, so I'm still on a pretty steep learning curve. But one of the things that they talk about is Maine is actually a really great place for solar. Equal to the French Riviera. So they'll talk about the number of sunny days and we also produce as much sunshine as a lot of places in Texas. And the efficiency of our solar panels is really high because solar does well in cold weather.
Okay.
So in Maine, when we build solar arrays, and you'll see this as I go forward. I have a little bit in my presentation about this, but it's designed in how large the array needs to be based on snow cover. Like they know how many days. There's a mod that, there's a formula depending on where you are. So if you're in Fort Kent, there's going to be a few more days in that calendar that you would be covered with snow. And they build the array to match the weather in the area.
Thank you.
So this next slide, yeah, thanks, Diane. Just why offsite solar? There are some school districts or other nonprofits that don't have on-site roofs or land space. And so this opportunity is really beneficial to them. And again, it works by, you've got these off-site panels. You can see they're pretty simple up here. It goes through the solar panels, generate electricity. They go into the inverter and through a meter, and that captures how much is being generated, and it goes to the grid. And the off-takers are agreeing to purchase a certain number of those credits, and that's what we call the net energy billing. So it's a really simple, pretty simple process for the way that works. All of it goes right into the grid. The next one. This next slide, and I can tell that you probably can't see that because I can't very well from here, and I know you're a little further away. So I'll read to you a little bit about what the numbers are. Your current electricity bills are around $134,000 a year. And with revision, we take a conservative approach to talking to you about how much load you need. We recommend that you only offset about 85% of your electricity with net energy billing credits. And we do that because the one risk with this process is you don't want to overbuy. So you don't want to buy a $200 gift card to Hannaford if you're only going to spend $50. Right? Because you bought a car, credits that you don't need. And so you never know what's going to happen in the future. Our assumptions are electricity usage is going to go up. Legislature also just passed legislation about moving to electric school buses. So, electricity needs are probably going to go up, but sometimes a school might close a school. Or you might find, change your lighting and have more efficient, efficient use, efficient lighting sources. So if you buy at 85%, you're prepared for any conservation that you can have of electricity in the future. And that's our recommendation. School boards make the final decision of what percent you want to offset. You want to offset as much as you can because that's where your savings is, but you don't want to offset too much. Most school districts I've worked with have gone in at 85%. When I was a superintendent for RSU 9, that school board said, you know what, we think we're going to need more electricity in the future and we think prices are going to go up. They decided to go in at 90%. They're the only district that I know that's gone a little bit higher than the recommended amount. But that is something the board would be deciding when and if you decide to go with net energy billing. So when you're 85% of your load makes that about $114,000. And then the value of a net energy billing credit is 12 cents, or it was when I'm using last year's numbers because I have last year's electric bills. At 12 cents, you'd need 929,000 kilowatt net energy billing credits, which is equivalent to kilowatt hours. At a 15% savings, you'd get those at 10 cents, 10 point. And that gives you an annual savings of $17,129. If you look at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, the total cumulative savings over 20 years is just under $400,000. The right, well, the right side of the chart there is another section that I like to talk a little bit about. And essentially, this comes back to your question about the amount of sun that we have. We have if you look at that, how we came up with that $400,000, you can see that escalation of costs. This has a 2% escalator in it every year. Again, we take a conservative approach in estimating how much you're going to save. The average increase in electricity over the last 30 years is 2.5%. We did a estimate of 2%, just again to be on the conservative side. We'd rather underestimate your savings and have you be excited and surprised than overestimate your savings. The other thing that's built into this is what we call a D rate for net energy billing credits required. As panels age, they become less efficient, and that is calculated at 0.5%. So that's also built in here. And when, again, they build the array, there's other things that are built in, like the weather dating, which is what happens when snow's on it. So this is an estimate of your savings over the course span, and it is on the conservative side. Anybody have any questions about this section? Now, this is a great option for schools, number one, because it's a pretty simple option. You're just agreeing to buy net energy billing credits. So you're choosing to get your electricity at a cheaper rate, right? But there is another option that more schools are starting to talk about, particularly with big increases in energy. So if you have on-site solar, you benefit from the solar fully, whereas with the off-site solar array, there's an investor, there's someone that's paid for it that is also making some of or getting some of the benefit from that solar. And Revision has what we call a PPA program, a power purchase agreement, where we offer no upfront costs solar options for schools and other nonprofits. We've been doing this, I think, since 2009 or 10. And what this essentially does is it brings in an impact investor. So we partnered with people who want money to advance causes that are good for the environment. And they come in, they build the array, they own the array, and they take advantage of the tax incentives, which are like 26% right now. For 5 years, you can get tax incentives. So they would own the array for 5 years. They take advantage of the tax incentives and also the off-taker paying for the credits. And after 5 years, when that process is over, it's in the contract, they agree to sell the array to the customer at a significantly reduced rate. So if somebody buys an array in the 6th year, it's typically about 40% off the original cost. These arrays the panels have a 25-year life, 25-year warranty and a 40-year life expectancy. So when you purchase this, once you've paid for the array, you have free electricity coming from this array. So you're fully benefiting from the solar that comes from this. Now, Kathy, can you turn the slide? This slide just shows a little bit about the interaction between the two. So the nonprofit, to for this to work, you need to have a roof, a roof that passes inspection to be able to have solar on it, or ground space for solar. So sometimes that's a barrier for people, but if it's not a barrier, if you actually have land that qualifies or a roof that qualifies, this might be an option that would bring you more savings and also, larger long-term savings. And it essentially, if in 6 years, the economic situation were such that you couldn't afford to buy it, you just continue to buy the credits for as long as the contract lasts. So any time after 6 years, you can purchase it. If you purchase it at 20 years, you might get it at 90% off the original cost, 80 or 90%, and still have 20 years of it generating electricity. So you don't have the risk of needing to know that you have the money in 6 years or in 8 years or whatever to go this option. But you do have to have land or roof. Camden Hills went through this process. They just purchased theirs, I think this summer, and it was in year 7. So they saved up, the savings that they were getting from their electricity, and were able to purchase their array at year 7. So it is being done. It's not as frequent or common as going with the net energy billings at this point, but we are seeing more interest in that. Anybody have any questions?
So for the first 5 to 7 years, or until it was purchased, it would be basically the same as the net energy billing. Would be getting savings.
Yes.
Similar to that, but we wouldn't own it. But it would be set up so that we could buy it at some point.
Yes.
And
That's
then at
exactly
that
right.
point, what would the savings potentially be? Would they be then, instead of 15%, potentially 25%, or?
So once you've paid for the array, the electricity is free. So it's 100% savings. So you would be getting, because you own the array that's generating it. So it will just come right back to your electric bills in full, at its full.
So if it was
generation.
producing 85% of the electricity that we used, even though it was going into the grid,
Yes.
we would get that credit from
Yes.
Central Maine Power.
Yes. And of course, it depends on the size of the array
Yeah.
that you built. Some schools, we're working with RSU 24 right now, they had a certain amount of space. So they're doing an on-site project, but they also went in for net energy billing for the rest of their credits, so that they, because they're building a new school, it wouldn't be ready for a year, but they didn't have enough space to do all of their load. And so there is the option to combine that so that you get, the full load if you don't have enough space. So when Revision Energy joins with a company for a solar array, I think it's really valuable to know that we build the array, we do the engineering, the procurement, and the construction, and we oversee the arrays for the life of the contract. So if you went in for net energy billing credits in an offsite array, Revision Energy would still be there through that 20-year contract. And again, a lot of value in the relationships that we build. We talk about our partners as, our solar champions, and we know that if we build relationships with you, our hope is if you have, future needs for solar, that we're the person you come back to, but also if you're, transitioning to other green energies, that we're partners and supporting you in that mission. And so, if you go either of these avenues, we do stand by our products, and we do the full, what we call vertical work that goes into those arrays.
For the question.
You said you'd maintain it for the 20 years. Is that a maintenance contract would pay a certain amount for?
Yeah. So if you're in net energy billing, the school district doesn't pay anything because you don't own it, right? The investor has, when we do a contract with an investor, in the contract it says we're going to maintain that array for them and make sure it's functioning up to its highest. When you do an on-site array, or if you own the array yourself, the school district would decide how they wanted that maintenance to go forward. Pretty much people want us to maintain the array, right? You usually don't have, solar experts on your staff at school. And there's, there's a fee depending on what kind of service you want. So it might be, $500 for a monthly check to make sure everything's, like the capacities, the production is there. And then there are higher, I've seen, I don't have the dollar amounts, but I know one of the packages is $1,000 a year for us to, do certain things. So those are right on our website and are easy for you to check. But that if you own the array, you have that responsibility. If the investor owns the array, you own nothing, so you have no responsibilities except purchasing the credits. And if it's on your site and that you don't ever purchase it, at the end of the 20 years, or if it's producing longer and you're happy to keep it, the investor's the one that has full responsibility for the decommissioning to take at their expense. There's no responsibility by the school system. If you own it, then you would do that in the end. So this is just a comparison of how the pricing works. So this like orange, yellowy orange box, that's the comparison for a PPA with a 6-year buyout. So you save the most money if you buy it as soon as you can, because of course then you're getting the most value from that. The next one, the dark blue, is the PPA at full term. If you never bought it, it would still be at, this says 9, see that, but you can see you're saving less because you didn't buy it out, but it's still at a significantly reduced price. And then this light blue one is a direct purchase. So if the school said, oh, we don't need an investor, we have, $300,000 that we want to put into this array on our roof, then, you would direct purchase it. You can see there's not much difference in that than in the PPA, because again, somebody else has put the upfront cost and you bought it at a reduced price. The other side of this line shows if it's in the utility. The black one I'll show first. That's the utility. If electricity prices never went up, there's that 12 cents. That's if for the next 20 years they just stay stagnant and we have no increases in electricity, that's where it would be. And then the gray one is the utility with the average 2.5% increase annually that we've seen in the last 30 years. And I'll just end with a couple of projects we're really proud of. This is a project in Livermore Falls, right in my backyard. This is Maine's first public school project. It's the Souther Farm. And you can see the schools that went in with this. This is a 5-megawatt array. We signed in, Mount Blue School District signed in soon after, in 2019, not far into the year. It didn't get built, and well, it didn't start generating net energy billing credits until November or December of this year. Because of COVID, there was quite a delay. So it hasn't been online for that long, but you can see Mount Blue's in there, J, RSU 73, this Camden Rockport's in there, and Hope Elementary School. But it's the first one that was filled primarily with school districts. So that we're proud of that. And then the next slide shows the first multi-town project that we did. And this one's been in production for quite a while. This is a 4-megawatt array in Skowhegan. And you can see towns from, Rockland to Rangeley, Dover, Foxcroft, Topsom, and Vassalboro are all in that one. So we're seeing schools and municipalities across the state join in these arrays and benefiting from the reduced price of electricity. And then the last thing, I've already talked about this a little bit, but when we sign on to a project, we really work hard to find out what's important to the organization, and we help market your school, or in some cases it's a commercial company. And one of the things we do is we do ribbon cuttings, and we have a tiny climate classroom and other educational resources. And so for schools, usually our support comes with providing some educational opportunities for students. We do field trips to our arrays. We provide a portal so classrooms can follow the energy that's being generated at the arrays and talk about the impact of those snow days or cloudy days versus the cold, sunny March days that we have. And so, and we do press releases because we think it's really important for your community to know a couple of things. Number one, that you're being fiscally conservative and you're doing what you can to reduce operational costs, but also, again, that our students and our families know the commitment that you're making for the future of our students in the way of being good stewards of the earth. So a lot of things that we do. We've had some great events with students at the ecology school. They do some summer camp type of things, and we build those into our expectations when we sign up schools. And that's it for me.
Does anyone have any questions for Tina? Okay, well, thank
So,
you very much for
yeah.
all that information, and we'll try to digest it all.
Yes, I was going to say that's typically the way the process works for schools is that I'll do a presentation, and then the boards you need time to think about all of the information you have. It's a big decision when you're signing a 20-year contract. One of the things I didn't say is that it is a 20-year contract. And after 20 years, it's in the contract that you have the opportunity to extend it for 5 more years and then another 5 years. And then at 30 years, there's no other language. But again, at that time, it'd be up to the investor and the school department if they wanted to partner longer. But it is a big decision, and it usually does take a little time for it to be digested and decided how you're going to move forward. So, anytime, as you're considering this, if you have any questions, Jay has my email. I'm happy to answer questions or meet with somebody again individually if you have, more concerns. So
Great, thanks again.
So just before you step down, Tina, thank you very much for that presentation. We really appreciate it. And just so the board knows, if we were to enter a contract, obviously we are going to work with our lawyers to make sure that the contract is something that's going to be beneficial for us. So that would be part of the process going forward, is generating that contract, all the little pieces, but we would have Drummond and Woodson as our lawyers reviewing that contract, and they would be helping us guide us through this process. And I know I can just say this, I know Tina's worked with Drummond and Wilson on several of these projects already, and she knows them well. So just so that you guys know, it's not something you would be walking into blindly. There would be hand-holding, necessary legal steps along the way.
yeah, we've signed over 25 schools into these contracts, and Drummond and Woodson works for all school. They're essentially the lawyers for all the school districts, or most of the school districts. And so Aga Dixon is, she has vetted this contract over and over again. And now we have a really pretty streamlined process. And I do like to tell people that these contracts were not designed by the investors, and they weren't designed by Revision Energy. They are a federal contract that is used all over the country. And what AGA's job is, and our legal counsel at our office, is to make sure they comply with Maine law. So if there's changes in that, every state has, certain things that you've got to add in. But yeah, it's a well-vetted contract. It's actually pretty easy to read considering how contracts can be. So yeah, that's one of the advantages to having the same schools having similar lawyers, because they put a lot of time into this contract.
Thanks again, Tina.
Thank you.
So,
Oh,
what's
John.
that? Well, not necessarily for her.
Yeah.
what's the next step? Like, how is this gonna progress? I always like a timeline.
Yeah, so you, basically, if you wanted to work through with Revision Energy, you guys would give me the authority to start that process, and I can update you on the steps as we go forward. And we get legal counsel involved and all that kind of stuff. So it's just you guys basically green lighting Jay start working on this. And then I would have to report back to you guys. So, but again, you know, there's a lot of information
Yeah,
here.
I'm not saying tonight, it's just.
And so once, if we green lighted it and once you'd gone through the process, updating us as we went, as you said, then we would still need to again approve the final contract.
Absolutely, yes, yes. You guys have the final say over that contract. That's not something I do solo, absolutely not.
And I would, it would be helpful to me to process this and digest this for a little bit, but then hear from our facilities committee or somebody from it a little more, like, to hear sort of further what's been talked about and what's been done and what's been considered and how we're here and all of that stuff. So I don't know if that's possible in
So
this
yes,
process.
so that we have an upcoming facilities meeting and I was going to process with them this presentation to see what they might want to recommend to the board in terms of next steps, so.
Okay. Good questions. So next on the agenda, do we have any citizen comments?
I mean, I'm on there. Do you want me to
Go
go
ahead,
ahead?
yep.
I'm solo, just me.
You're the only one on the list.
So I'm switching sides. And as you all know, I guess nervous reaction to public speaking because I hate it is because my voice will start this way, but hopefully I end up clearing up as we go. So I am here, Kim Bowie, Manchester, and standing here as a parent. Okay, I think it's coming back. So obviously I've been a board member for 3 years and want to make public comment regarding something related to school that we may or may not choose to discuss as a board later. So I have gone through proper channels. I've spoken with both the principal first and then our superintendent about this issue that I have. And obviously as a board member, I understand the need to maintain our budget as well as expectations for class size. Okay, hold on. I wanted to talk about the particulars involving high school core classes, which I think all schools have probably defined as English, math, science, and social studies. So for those of you who don't have high schoolers or haven't in the past, or in some cases, I know you've worked at high schools, for Maranacook, they have 8 class periods that they have to fill each year for 4 years. Of those 8, a minimum of 4, because of course, some students can choose to do more. 4 of them have to be filled by those core classes of English, math, science, and social studies. The remaining 4 each year are a little bit more flexible, but obviously need to meet certain graduation requirements. So my reason for speaking tonight is on behalf of a very small, I will admit, group of students who have chosen since the 8th grade to do the necessary process of wanting to take certain AP classes by the time they were to become juniors and seniors. Specifically in the subjects in these comments for English and math, I believe they're the only 2 that are impacted by this. And what that means is in 8th grade, they had an option to take a test in order to potentially be selected to take an accelerated English class freshman year. That accelerated class is the equivalent essentially of a freshman and sophomore level English class But what it allows them to do is by year 4, they can take an AP English course, or in some cases, a college course. The same is true for math. There are a group of students who choose to take Algebra 1 as an 8th grader instead of as a freshman, so that then they can take so they can complete algebra, the 4 requirements in order to take AP Calculus their senior year. Those 4 requirements are to complete Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry and Pre-Calculus all through their junior year. If they can't complete those, then they haven't met the prerequisites, for lack of a better word, to take AP Calculus their senior year. AP Calculus is listed as a course of choice that students can take on our course list. I've looked at the course list that my child received freshman year, and AP Calculus was and always has been listed on there, and to the best of my knowledge, taught. However, next year it is not going to be. Not because there aren't any students interested, but because there are only a few. And for those few who are interested in taking it, are likely those who it is important to have an AP Science as well as AP Calculus on their transcript when they are applying to colleges, because colleges, especially those colleges that have a more selective process, so to speak, AP Calculus, seeing AP Calculus and AP Bio is our science choice. Those two are very important to get into colleges. And so to not offer that course next year is impacting, again, it's only a few students, but it is a core class. And it is those few students who do want to go on and get college degrees that require those AP courses to have happened in high school. The choice for a class instead of AP Calculus next year is Intro to Calculus. It is considered and described as half of an AP Calculus class, so literally half the material that an AP Calculus class would cover. Therefore, when they got into college without AP Calculus as the class that they took, they will have only completed half of the material needed as they're continuing their education. The other choice that they've been given is to take AP Calculus through a local college, which does not have a cost involved with it. However, it is going to be asynchronous, so all recorded lessons. And for those of us that are not math geniuses, myself included, taking a recorded lesson for an entire year calculus class, I think is asinine to say that that is comparable to an in-person teacher to teach AP Calculus, which is what we have offered in the past. To me, that is not even in the realm of possibility. And I will say these students have a lot of experience with remote learning, obviously, at this point. We've done it a lot. And I can tell experience that anytime a test has been given in math after they have learned remotely, and that's with a teacher teaching them in person, well, online, not listening to recordings, teacher getting on and doing the period as if she were standing in front of the class, that class never performs as well on that test after having learned that section of information remotely versus in person. And therefore, to expect a student to take that on is, I think, too much. In addition to that, those students who completed the English course are already being told that the class that they should take for English next year is going to take place remotely over the summer. So basically, this small pocket of students, 50% of their core classes that we have defined as their core classes, they are going to have to take outside of our school. And to me, as a parent, obviously, but I'm bringing it to your attention because I'm also a board member, and I don't think that that's right. I know we have a class size of 10, but to me, that should not be a limit for specifically those core classes. Because I don't think it's the right precedence to set. I think that it's sending a message to the parents and children, obviously, that are dealing with next year, but also to future students, parents, and community members who look to come to school here to hear that we don't even offer an AP Calculus class, I think, and the English, and that some of the students have to take 50% of their core classes away from our school because we don't have the staff or the ability to teach those classes I think is wrong. This is not an elective. It's not like because they've already taken those those 4 prerequisites that are required, they don't get to skip math next year. They just have to take something different, and it's not. And for those, I know there are some parents here who have had kids that go through the college process. If you are applying to schools that are, single digit acceptance rates, they have to eliminate applicants somehow, and they will look at an application and see that a child did not take AP Calculus or AP Bio, and will put them at the bottom of the stack and won't even bother to review them further because it is so competitive. So we're basically not allowing our kids to compete for those spots because they were never given the choice to be able to take those classes. And I don't think it's right. And I guess I feel that we need to do something about it. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Kim. So I'll give Esme a chance to sit down before I totally embarrass her. So I'm going to now embarrass you. I don't think she's easily embarrassed though. This is Esme Jamison. I knew that she was going to be a little late tonight because she has a lot of other things going on with her school. So she's our board member. So we just want to welcome you and thank you for coming and thank you for giving up your time to be a member of our group. We really look forward to both of your input and your participation in the meeting. So welcome. Okay, are there any adjustments or additions to the agenda by the board or superintendent? Hearing none, we will.
I kind of do.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's not really, I'm not sure if this is the right place for it. You can tell me to stop if it isn't. It's more of a question, again, about the process of getting information more about that revision energy presentation. And I asked if we could get more information from the facilities committee, and then you said the facilities committee was going to talk about it, which is awesome, but is built into that answer that also we'll get some specific information. Okay, thank you. I didn't understand.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have
So you're all
adjustment
set?
really,
So you
but
don't
I'm all
have
set.
adjustment?
Yeah.
I know we already had question time as well, but are we going to be looking, or is this what the facilities committee is going to be looking at, both the option of buying into whatever that's called and or putting something here, or have we already decided one way or the other?
No,
It's
we
both.
have not at
Okay.
all. So that's what, hopefully we use the committee process to, they would kind of come forward and say, we've done this research, this is what we're recommending we do. If anything at all, they may come back and say, no, we're not going to pursue this, or this is not exactly what we think Marana Cook is ready to do at this point.
Do
So
we know if we have land or roofs that can handle it here, if that were even?
we
an
do
option?
have land down on the side of the hill here that we potentially could use. We have not gone so far as to find out if we've actually got roofs that are ready to be able to do that. If that's the direction we want to go in, that's obviously
just
one of the
curious.
things. No, that's a good
If we knew.
question. So.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, that was one of my concerns too, is like, that's probably where the lawyers come in place,
Yes.
because later on down the road, if this, for some reason, we have an explosion in our kids and community, we might want to expand the school, but we might be
Exactly.
hands are tied because they were like, oh no,
Yeah.
you signed a contract. So,
There's a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
And there would be a lot of things that, like through the facilities committee, then reporting back to the board, and then you guys authorizing next steps as a full board. So that's what we are looking to do, is kind of vet that out. And do we want to go with one of these options, start investigating both of them, look for somebody different? It just, it's wide open right now.
Okay. So next on the agenda is a celebration.
Yes, and that was Miss Brackley is going to share with us today from Wayne.
So it's not often Wayne has, something to celebrate, but this week has been a really busy week in Wayne. first, I spent Sunday morning in Wayne. I want to say as the principal, I'm really blessed to have a really awesome parent organization that threw a 5K in Wayne on Sunday. So it was their first fun 5K that they threw. 60 people showed up. So they were expecting like 40 and 60 people showed up. It was really awesome. And they had a kids fun run at the beginning. That was my speed. I will say I came in last, but the kids were cheering me on as I ran. So about a half mile is about all I can do at this point, but it was really awesome. And I just, the parent group is very supportive and I have, cherished building a relationship with them since October. Then today, I want to thank our librarian, Heather Chalmers. She organized an author's visit. So author and illustrator, Matt, I cannot pronounce his name as I'm here shaking, Tarvers came and he talked to kids. He read them a book and then he talked to them about the process of writing and illustrating, and he drew a picture with them and he went through the whole process of how he takes pictures and then brings them back in. And then of course it's raining out and I hear my first grade spent their lunchtime recess writing books. So it was really amazing to see school kind of back to normal and to have the kids, even though they haven't really had an assembly in almost 2 years, sit down, be able to sit for 40 minutes. The kindergarten first graders actually sat for 40 minutes and listened to him. It was just amazing. And so I just wanted to share with you, like, it was just one of those days where I feel really, really blessed to be the principal in Wayne. And if you look at my board report, the elementary board report too, Wayne had 4 new students this month. So that's even better.
Thank you, Tina. That's very exciting. Okay, so now we have some board reports.
So, yes.
Any
so-
questions? Wait a minute, before we get to that,
Yes.
any questions for the principals, adult ed, any of the other reports that were in the packet? Okay, now we have committee reports.
So Kelty is our usual person to report on the communications committee, but she's not here, so I'm going to. So if you were at the communications thing, I'm pointing at you, Sean, and Rebecca, and Kathy, and Jay. Please jump in, because I'm not ready for this. But we met, I thought it was a really good beginning step. I hope other people do too. We met in person in the high school library and also had a bunch of people on Zoom to just talk about what our communication problems are or what it is that is going on with us, because we sit here and think we're doing things that are helpful to staff and students, and then staff and or students think we are not. And so where does what happens and why is that happening and where is it breaking down, and is it historical? Because of we just sort of talked, and there was a facilitator, Kurt Jack, and he was awesome. And he led us through a process of reviewing both the current policy of what staff board, it was really mostly about staff at this meeting. And a lot of staff people were there online and in person, more than we thought, which was super exciting. And we talked about what the policy says is acceptable for communication. And we talked about things that we have seen as barriers to effective communication. And we made some stabs at some ideas of steps we could take to improve this situation, and they are to look at that policy at the next policy committee meeting, because the current policy says that staff and board members are not allowed to communicate directly without going through the superintendent in either direction, right? So this is not helpful to what we want to do or like how we want it to be. So we're going to look at that at the policy committee meeting, and then we also talked about A number of teachers who were at the meeting in person said that they felt or have heard from others that the biggest thing they would like to see is have board members be in schools and see what's really going on, because we, I think, feel like we read the administrative reports, we hear occasional things that people share with us, but we really don't know what's going on, and then we're making these decisions. So people said they really wanted us to come into schools, and we talked about how that needed to occur in a really individual way, school by school, depending on the needs of the school and what that would look like, and nothing's figured out with that yet, but people were kind of excited about the potential for that occurring. There was a lot of misinformation about how folks feel that school board members who have been in schools in the past have been evaluating staff, which is absolutely not the case. It's not our job at all. And some people in staffs and buildings are more or less comfortable with us being around, so we would have to figure it out. But so that was the second thing. And then the third thing was to have focus groups, like, right? Yep. I almost lost that one, but I got it. Okay. And we hope to, at our next communications committee meeting, figure out a focus group. I think it was going to be about what, is it going to be about like professionalism, like why?
I think was it what
I wrote it down. in
what
my
we
notes
can
on it.
do as a board to alleviate some of the fear and stress
Yeah.
people are feeling
Yes.
around us.
Around us. So we're hoping to have a focus group for that, and then eventually have it grow into more targeted focus groups. Like maybe there would be a focus group eventually for community members and parents, or maybe there would be a focus group for certain staff members. Like maybe we would meet with all the guidance staff or all of the food service staff or all the maintenance staff or something like that, in addition to classroom teachers. So we're hoping that that will happen. Did I miss something?
I just wanted to add that one other thing that was kind of a common theme that a lot of the teachers said is that they feel that we need to all work together to make the community feel more welcome and parents feel more welcome in our schools, because they're the staff members, and they're saying that they don't feel that parents and community members feel welcome in our schools. So what can we all do together to it? And it was really was a wonderful meeting. I mean, it was a lot of really good conversation, and I felt like we really had a good starting point, and we can really take some steps to make some changes. So the staff really wanted to make sure that the parents and community and students were included in the conversations.
And it was definitely the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I
Right.
don't think people really talked about specifics or what the problems specifically are, but it was a good beginning.
Any questions? Do you have any other? I think it was you, but you're not, I think I'm policy. That's right, you're policy, I'm curriculum. So we had a curriculum committee meeting, hold on, I gotta look at the notes, I gotta find my notes. And at that meeting, Abby Schenk was there to talk about the process of where they're at with the math curriculum, K through 5, and how the implementation of the new bridges is going. And she had a lot of good data and information that she's worked really hard on putting together. And it's looking like the staff is liking the program and that things are going well. And they'll report it back again in the fall once we do the assessments to see, how the assessments look based on the new programs that we're using. And then Karen Smith was there with some really in-depth information about the curriculum work that's been going on across all content areas this year with the SAC committees, which are subject area committees, which have been meeting and doing an audit of all of the curriculums that we have in place and really trying to get a structure organized so that we can look at those curriculums and know what they really mean and how teachers are going to be using them. So a lot of work has been put into both of these projects. So in the process that was done for these. And Karen's really looking at a lot of the data from these different SAC groups and the SAC leadership group to see what the next steps might be. So I just want to say I really appreciate all the work that both Abby and Karen have done and presented to us. And they'll meet with us again in the fall. Did I miss anything? Thank you. Giving me that. Okay, any other, we have a policy meeting on the 10th, which is next week, where we're going to be looking at that policy about the communication. So hopefully we'll be getting, we asked for some input at that communications meeting the other night. We asked for input from staff about what they would like to see in that policy. So we're still asking if people have any ideas about what they would like to, how that policy would like to look, just give us ideas and we'll try to, see how we might be able to incorporate them. And that's everybody, the whole staff, anybody in the district has any policy. We're really looking for that.
And if it's okay, on page 24 of 43, there is one policy we brought forth. It's a minor change on the policy KBB, the public's right to know, freedom of access. And all we're doing is updating it based on what the law is. But we did want to bring it forward to you guys for a first read tonight so that we can hopefully have a second read in June so that it is in place going forward here. And you can see the changes that are there, and those are what we can do by law. And then we updated it used to say finance manager, it's a finance director. So we just kind of cleaned up the little things that were there. But it matches exactly the law that got put into effect about what we could charge per hour, how much time, all that kind of stuff. We were, so yeah, just wanted to make sure you guys saw that one.
So I did think of something else about the curriculum committee. We also will be bringing to the policy committee, policy IJJ, which is choosing new curriculum materials. So the curriculum committee looked at it. We made a few changes. We're going to bring it to the policy committee to see what the policy committee thinks, and then we'll bring it to the full board for first read. And it's not a big change. It's just some of the language. Okay. Any others?
And I don't know if Kim has anything
Kim,
for Austin
anything for
Bear.
Austin
She may or
Bear?
may not.
It keeps being on the same night as the board meeting, so I can't be in two places at once as much as I'd love to. Teleporting, I hear, is coming, but it's not here yet. So.
In a while.
Okay, good. So now we'll go on to the action informational items. So do we have a motion for the approval of the minutes of the April 13th meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes of the April 13th, 2022 meeting.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any discussion?
Yes.
No discussion? We'll take a vote.
All right, real quick. Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes,
Unanimous.
So the next one, is there a motion for the appointment of first probationary contract teacher, for gifted and talented Caroline Carnes?
I move that we approve Caroline Carnes as the first probationary contract teacher for gifted and talented at 50% starting in September.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded to approve Caroline Carnes.
Who was the second? Was it
Rebecca.
Rebecca? That's what I thought. Just wanted to double
Any discussion? Okay.
All right. Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
yes,
Again, unanimous.
Is there a motion to approve the appointment of the second probationary contract teachers that are listed in our packet?
I move to the appointment of second probationary contract teachers.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just so, if it's okay, Kathy, yeah, go ahead. Just so you guys know, that's a fairly big list because Maine had changed it used to be you had to have 3 years as a probationary teacher before you got put on continuing contract. Thank you. And they moved it back to 2 years. So there was a law that passed that moved it back to 2 years. So you actually had a group of 2-year and 3-year that are moving to probation or to continuing contract. So just so you guys know, it looks like a big list and it's because of that piece.
Okay. Ready to vote?
All right, Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and Dave Twitchell.
Yes,
Unanimous again, thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the teacher resignation of Maria Tario?
Wait, you missed
No,
the.
whoops, did I get to do D?
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I skipped over D. Is there a motion for the appointment of first continuing contract teachers? The list.
I move we approve the first continuing contract teachers as listed. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
All righty. Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
yes,
Unanimous one more time.
And now we'll go to the motion for the acceptance of a teacher resignation.
I move we accept the resignation of Melissa Terrio. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to say RSU 5 is lucky to get Mrs. Dario. She's one of my son's favorite teachers. She went to one of his hockey games when he was in first grade. He still talks about it. He still talks to Mrs. Dario when he sees her. I feel it's a big loss for RSU 38 Greenfield Elementary. So best of luck to her. And
Great, thank you, Sean. Anyone else?
Did you do a exit interview?
Yes, yeah, we've offered that to her. Kate Taylor does those.
Are we gonna get those at some point?
Yeah, we're working on that. Those exit interviews. Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes, with regret.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
yes.
and David Twitchell.
yes,
Unanimous.
So do we have a motion for another resignation of Margot Georgi?
Motion. Sadly, I motion the exception of teacher resignation effective 30/22 MCMS of Margot Georgi.
Any discussion? I think this is another big loss for the district.
Huge loss.
Right, okay. Kim,
Yes.
Dave,
Sadly, yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes, with regret.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
yes.
Unanimous, thank you.
Okay, now we'll get off the resignations and consider the nomination. So do I have a nomination for the high school principal, Michelle LaForge?
Yes.
I move we accept the nomination of high school principal Michelle LaForge.
Second,
Is there any discussion? I would just like to say before we vote that I just appreciate the committee and all the work that the committee put into it to come to this point. I appreciate all the diligence that you put into this, Jay, and how we got to this point. I really appreciate all the work that was done. So thank you, and pass that on to the committee that
Absolutely.
we said thank you.
And just so everyone knows, Michelle is here. Michelle, if you don't mind just standing up real quick so everyone can see you. She was able to come for this nomination tonight. So just, I thought it would be nice to have a name and a face to put together going forward. We can vote. Yes, sorry. Let me put my glasses back on. Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes, welcome.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
So again, unanimous.
Nice.
Congratulations,
Welcome.
Michelle. Welcome.
Welcome. Okay, now we have a consideration of an overnight trip.
Approve the overnight trip for grade 8, going to Staten Island, Little Deer Island. In June.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
Yes, the kids are very excited.
Okay.
All right, Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty, Sean,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
And another trip, this one out of state for Advisory Day.
Move we approve the out-of-state trip for MCHS Advisory Day going to Boston, Mass. In June 8th.
Second.
Any dis-
All righty.
Hearing none.
Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
So again, unanimous.
And consideration of another overnight trip.
I move we approve the overnight trip to the All-State Music Festival on May 19th, 21st.
Second.
So it's moved and seconded. Any discussion? I just, well, go ahead.
I wonder if we're going to say the same thing. If any music teachers are on the line there? No. I appreciate, so my son's life was changed by going to these, and I am so excited that our whole district music program makes it so this can happen. Really appreciate Dan giving to all states. Thank you.
Well, this, do you know if this is gonna be like recorded or,
Oh, good question.
That's a good question. I will ask
You
Dan
know,
to
yeah.
report back on that. So
Are
maybe
either of
there's
you
a live
musicians?
link. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I'm just, am really excited to see all of these trips that we're voting on. It's just, it feels so good to be able to see these on the
That's all.
agenda again, and to be able to approve all these trips. So thank you for all the people that put the time in to plan these. It's great experiences for our kids. So thank you.
Seconded.
Oh, wait.
Okay, all set? All set. Okay, Kim.
Yes.
Dave Gilmay.
yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
So again, unanimous.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is to talk about our annual meeting process, which is not next week, the week after, May 18th.
But our next meeting.
It is our
Yes,
next meeting, right?
Right. So just as a reminder to start off with, that meeting is recorded. It's not Zoom. By law, we can't you can't conduct that meeting by Zoom. It has to be an in-person meeting. So board members, well, there's no option for remote. We will record it like we've always done in the past, but there won't be an option for board members or for the public, basically, because of the nature of that meeting. So I just wanted to say that right from the get-go, so people remember that. It's really important that we have board members with us in person for that meeting. So in your packets, there should be a sample script. We talked a little about the last couple of years have been really funky. So there's actually probably a lot of you on the board that have never really gone through this process. where we use a script and we ask each board member to play a part in this going forward. So what we did is we just kind of, Donna randomly assigned people into the various pieces. So obviously we can swap those around if you guys want to do that. It's very scripted. Our moderator tentatively right now will be Richard Spencer from Drummond and Woodson. He's done it for us for several years now. He did it the last 2 years for those of you that were with us for it. But we're kind of trying to get back to the normal process again that we would normally use. So that's why we went back to the script idea. So we thought if we gave it to you guys ahead of time, if you want to make any changes, please let myself or Donna know and we'll adjust the script accordingly. We will have another script ready for you on the day of the meeting. So this is kind of like that first draft. So as if you have questions, even later on after you walk away and you're like, Jay, why is this here? Just give me a call or send me an email and I can give you a quick update on what it all means and what those pieces are. But we figured getting it to you guys ahead of time would be important. This is good. Versus, say that again. Right. So the words that are of the warrant, and those numbers are the numbers that are on the warrants as well.
So we just will read what's right on here when it's wherever our name is. We'll just read it. Any questions? Or?
I just have one. What usually the location and the time is different, right? Because the high school.
No, it's going
Oh,
to
it is
be
gonna
in
be
this,
here? Oh,
it
okay.
is going to be in this, excuse me, not in the cafeteria,
Oh,
in
the
the
gym. That's
middle
right.
school gym.
Middle
Thank
school
you,
gym.
Jennifer. Middle school gym.
And 7 instead of 6. Hey, I'll be on time.
So 7 o'clock.
Usually the last minute.
Thank you, that's, thank you for asking.
Good question.
Yes.
Middle school gym, 7 o'clock. I'm gonna get that in my brain.
I'll be here.
Oh, okay. So we'll
Okay, we'll
take
cross
you
you
off the script. Thank you, Dean, sorry.
What's that?
No.
Anything else?
So that's the basics of it. So again, please take the time to review. And if you want Dane's space on the script, just let me know. You can have it. So there.
Okay. So now we'll get an update on the health and safety procedures and protocols.
So I don't have a whole lot of change. As you guys probably noticed, our little spike we had right before April vacation, we were at the end, at the beginning of it. There are a lot of schools that are experiencing what we experienced right before April vacation. So we're ahead of it, and knock on wood, I'm hoping that we don't have to go through that again for the remainder of the year. I gave you the same things that I've given you time after time. You can see if you look at the individual, the last 3 weeks, cases have obviously dropped very, very quickly. We're in good shape. I will continue to meet with the nurses, usually on Friday, or I'll ask them to give me a report just so we can keep a tab on it. But I don't talk to the nurses as much as I was talking to them even 3 months ago. So whenever I don't hear from them, that's a really good day for me. So just so that you guys know, my recommendation is that we just keep doing what we're doing and we carry it through both the month of May and we finish it off in June, because June will have 2 weeks of school there. So I'd like to not have this on the June agenda because there's only 2 weeks left. So I just like to say, what we're doing is what we'll keep doing if you guys are comfortable with that. But we're in good shape right now. Pool testing has ended. The state of Maine was the one that was funding it, and they are officially stopping. I believe it's next week, but in talking to the nurses, I went with their recommendation. They're like, Jay, there's really no point based on what's going on right now. It feels kind of redundant to do that. So I took their recommendation, and that's why I ended it about 2 weeks early, but I haven't heard any complaints about that either. So I think it was just kind of time. It had done its time and served its purpose, but it was time to move on. So.
I have a somewhat related question. Since we're talking about through the end of school, based on the report, is the last day, because all the calendars still say if X number of
Yes.
emergency days used, what is the last day of school?
The last day of school, the administrators are planning right now, the last student day will be Wednesday, June 15, and I hope I'm saying the right day because this was a whole
right? That's
meeting
what
of
it
the
said in
mind.
the-
Yes. But it is Wednesday, June 15th, and traditionally it's always been a half day, so, so that's what I've asked the administrators to start planning. Yeah, good, thank you, that was a great question as well.
So I just remember, I do have one more thing. It's just a little bit of information. I attended a MSBA region meeting last night, and they're asking for the delegates for the conference, for us to choose those delegates in June instead of September, so that the delegates can get together and have more information before they vote on the resolutions. So we've got 3 more meetings. Next week's the annual, and we have 2 more after that. So at one of those June meetings, we'll need to choose our delegates for the fall conference, which is in October. So I just wanted to put that out there. And thank you, and have people thinking about that.
Do we have to vote on the code, health and safety procedures for May and June?
We have to vote on.
I think if you guys want to just continue with what we're doing, I don't think you need to vote just like at this
If
point.
that's okay with
unless-
everyone.
what was the question? Vote on the health and safety like we've done in the past.
No change.
But there's no changes at all, so if you guys are comfortable, we'll just let it keep rolling.
Okay. Betty, you good with that?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I
So,
just didn't want to make it
Yeah.
invalid.
Thank you. I'm getting to the adjournment, but I just want to go over our norms and see how people think we did on our norms tonight. So your norms are on this piece of paper right here in the folder. If anybody has any comments on how the meeting went, I'd be glad to hear them.
Great.
Wonderful.
It went
I
really
just,
well.
say that?
It went really well.
I just want to thank all of you for, well, these norms and all center and at the center and doing the best that we can at every meeting. So thank you. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
First, I want to just say, Eric and Esme, I'm really glad you're here.
Yes.
I'm really,
I
really,
was
really
just saying
glad.
that I told them they don't have to ever worry about speaking because they'll always sound better than me.
Well,
But
that-
do speak up. When you have a thought or a question,
Yeah.
go for it, please.
Just, when I say that there's a motion and a second and discussion, if you have any thoughts that you want to say during that discussion time, our ears are very open to what you have to say. So make sure you do.
We may call on you by surprise.
Right.
You never know, we might.
Welcome to the board.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Can we say all those in favor?
You don't have to.
You don't have to take that vote.
Yep.
We're adjourned.